All right. How you doing, Dean?
I'm good.
That's
I'm good.
good. That's good. So one, we just normally just start off with just a little bit of banter, nice talking to each other. So I just wanted to ask you a question. Like, what did you want to be as a kid?
As a kid, what did I want to be? God, I don't. The first memory I have of what I wanted to be, for whatever reason, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatric oncologist. I remember that in high school. As a kid, I don't really think I thought about what I wanted to...
Just living life.
Just living life, yeah. So I went to college to be a doctor, and then I changed in college.
St. Michael's, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we actually have an admissions officer who went to St. Michael. She went to, her name is Corey LaFave. She's actually my boss.
Really? How do I not know that she went to St. Michael's?
Yeah, she asked me to mention that to you. That's funny. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
it's a good connection.
Definitely. So, did you have any specific mentors or supporters who served as a catalyst to get you where you are today?
Oh, a lot. Yeah. Certainly in college, I had when I got into being an RA and getting sort of into this field. I worked in the first year student programs office, and so Grace Kelly was my first work study boss, and so she was a great mentor. I did an academic internship with the Dean of Students, Mike Samara, and so he was a great, role model. And then I've had a great mentor. I was in grad school. I took a course with a woman who at the time was a VP of Student Affairs. My job at a different school. And we've been, at one point, I was taking a sort of internship class with her, and so you'd sit after you'd have the conversation about how your internship is going, and she said to me, "We're going to be friends for life." And I said, I don't know about that, but we've been friends so far. But I would say she's been a really great sort of career advisor and thinking about what you want to do and how you want to do it.
That's great.
So mentors are very important.
Yeah, I would think so. Especially just going off of that, I've been working with graduate admissions. I've got a lot of mentors as myself now, and it's amazing to see that Bentley offers such a great system of people and such a great collection of people that I can walk into a new job and just instantly people are just like, here, we're here to help you as in your career, but also as well as your personal life, and it's just great to know that. So, coming to Bentley as an experience, I would just ask you if you could describe Bentley in 3 words.
Bentley the institution or Bentley students?
Bentley the institution.
Is it going to be in order or?
No, you can pick 3 random words.
It's a cliche word, but caring. I do think, and I think it's because it's a business school that you might not expect it, but I think what you just described is sort of the experience I've had of there's always been sort of this ethos of care for students, of doing the right thing. I would either, I don't know if I want to do an alliteration and keep it all C words, change or innovation. I think this institution has not. I've been here for 23 years because it's always been moving somewhere else. And I think I realized early in my career I wanted to move things. I didn't want to, there are some people that, are good at dismantling. So you have some VPs that come into an institution that's in trouble and they break it down and then somebody else comes in and rebuilds it. I'm not one of those. And I'm not all I have to do is maintain. I just have to keep all the trains running and I don't have to be innovative. So I think either change or innovation. So caring. I don't think you can describe Bentley without using the word driven. That describes the students, but I think it describes the ethos of the institution. Of it's different than change or innovation. It's there's just this. For a medium-sized institution, I think it always is trying to be the leader in the nation, whether it ever can be or should be. But when you look at the Bentley MBA program, it's trying to be an innovative leader. When you look at the emerging leader, everything is always trying to be the very best that it can be. So I think it's driven. So caring, innovative, and driven.
Those are great answers.
That's actually what Gloria was saying.
Those were those
aligned with the brand image.
Yeah.
Phew.
Did you guys talk?
No, we didn't. We actually didn't. But
Here are the questions he asked.
It'd be terrible if I was like, that's exactly the opposite of what Gloria said. Like, now I'm in trouble.
So moving on, we were just going to ask, why should a prospective graduate student choose Bentley University over another university in your eyes?
I think the key to any graduate experience is the faculty relationship. You know, and I think when you're studying at that level, it is about that academic piece of it in a different way than I think it is for undergraduates. So I think the fact that we have faculty who are so student-centered and focused on that is important. And I think that you have a breadth of faculty here that makes that even more special. And so I think, you know, when I think about my master's program, there really was just one faculty member, and I chose it based on that one faculty member because it was directed, you know. But here I think you have many more opportunities, and I also think the whole ethos of Bentley academics, of being a combination of business and the liberal arts, of recognizing that you have to be as good as your analytics as you are your critical thinking, makes this a very special place in a way that other institutions are not, and that you really have to be a thinker and have the ability to have the baseline skills, but also to be really able to solve problems and work with people.
I agree wholeheartedly, because even as an undergrad, being able to go up to a professor and them actually know my name, know my background, where I'm from, and most actually try to figure out how you learn before, you know, even when you have like private sessions with them, and I'm sure that's the same for grad school. Well,
most of the faculty is actually shared within undergrad and grad, except liberal arts. I'm also an alum from Bentley, from Emerging Leaders, actually. And every time I try to recruit for students, I deliver from my own experience. And I say, you're not a number. You're not that everyday student who comes into class and then leaves. You're a person. You're an individual. And, you know, I would definitely align with your experience through the graduate aspect, at least.
Well, and I think that sharing of faculty from undergrad to grad, and I also think it you don't hear faculty say, yeah, well, you know, I'm the Bentley MBA. I don't really. I mean, I got to teach this other class, but I don't want to. You know, the faculty don't view students in buckets of these are my research students, so I'm going to focus on them. And part of my job is I have to teach this group, or you know, I'm a graduate faculty member, but I got to teach an undergrad class every 5. You know, you don't have that here. I mean, I think it's students. You know, it's not graduate students. It's not emerging leader students. It's not liberal arts students, or you know, it's students, and I think that's different, and I think I never hear faculty not being willing to engage with students, you know, so I think that's just a special piece of this, and I think that's it's important at the undergrad level, but it's even more important at the graduate level.
So, besides faculty, what would you say that Bentley's most important asset to offer to incoming graduate students would be?
You know, I think the caring nature and the student services and the student support, you know, has got to be a foundation. If it's not there, then you're not going to be successful. So whether that's making sure you have access to appropriate health services or counseling needs, or access to your peers through student organizations or clubs and activities, or academic support and academic advising, and the feeling that someone's going to be not consider you a number but work with you when life interferes with your academics, which at the graduate level it often does, for good reasons and for more difficult reasons. So I think those are all important. I also think Bentley's DNA is to ensure that there is a return on the investment for the student. And so in committing to helping students get work, get a job, not just a job, a career. And I think we've put a lot of effort and continuing to put more effort into the graduate career services piece and making sure that that's effective, productive, and helping students go forward. And I think that's an important piece.
And that's essential, because we don't come to college just to come for fun. There's an after effect there's something that we want to do afterwards. So the fact that we're putting a lot of time into this is something that I thought. And in the conversation with Gloria, we had an in-depth conversation about where we're going to take Bentley for the next step, which brings us to our next question. What do you think the next steps for the graduate school would be within competing with a competitive global market?
Probably a little beyond my expertise, and so I would leave it to the provost and the dean of business. But I think our reputation, is important to get out there. And I think it's a crowded market. We're in a Boston market, and there's a couple of schools that are kind of good in the area, Harvard, MIT. So it's tough to create the niche for ourselves, and to I think we've done a good job of saying this is what we're offering, and so I think the next step is to commit to those, emphasize those, support the students and graduates from those programs to be successful, and to build a reputation going forward, both in the United States, but also international. And I think that's it's a challenge for every graduate program, and the visa issues and all those things that go along with that are challenging. And Gloria and I were just in London, and they're even more challenging there than they are in the U.S. So trying to sort all that out is important. But I think sticking to what we know, sticking to our brand, and committing to our programs and the students in those programs is the important next step.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I believe that you run the CISS, please. So, with that question, I
don't know if I run it, but I oversee it.
Correct.
How's that? Yeah.
So, there was a question that was brought up to me before we actually got to this interviews, and I was talking to one of the admissions officers. She was asking me, are there any new opportunities for practical training for any international students? Because I know that's a big thing for international students. Like, once they get over here and they're doing their grad, they're looking for other jobs and looking for things to do to maintain their visa and all that stuff like that. So I didn't know if you had any information on that. That may be a shaky ground there.
No, I don't think it's shaky ground. I think it's not.
Because it could also be for graduate career services.
Yeah, because
okay.
The CISS will approve and make sure that a student gets the proper paperwork, provided they're doing the right kind of work. And I think sometimes the hard part with CISS is they get confused with the federal government, and so it's not CISS's rule. It's the federal government's rule of what, and the hard part is, and there's a lot more emphasis right now on the federal side on STEM jobs, and STEM work, and so business isn't seen necessarily. So I think it's harder to get the practical trainings, to get the, but I do think, and I've talked to Susan Brennan about this in Career Services, about our ability to educate employers about hiring international students, what that means and what it doesn't mean, because for many employers it's like, I don't want to, and then I got to sponsor, and then and it's going to cost me $100,000, like no, like here are the rules, here's the advantages, and really trying to help employers understand what the realities are, because a lot of employers just like, oh, that's hard to figure out, I don't, and rightly so. It's like, it's not, in an ideal world, yes, they'd want to be fully educated on everything, but they've got a job to do, they're trying to fill positions, and they're trying to do it in the most efficient way possible. So it should be up to us to try and work together, or some of the national associations that work for international students, to educate people on the role and the rules and regulations, and how cumbersome, or in many cases non-cumbersome, it is for corporations to hire them. The big companies pretty much know it, and they pretty much have those resources. I think it's some of the other places, the smaller, where it's like, is this going to be too hard for me? And I'm just I've got less than 100 employees. Can I afford this? Can I, so I think there's a lot of education that has to go on.
Okay, so in closing, we're going to ask you, what advice would you give a prospective graduate student that comes into Bentley?
You know, I don't think I'd give a prospective graduate student coming to Bentley any different advice than I'd give any graduate, even undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you have a choice to either take full advantage of what you're pursuing or to not. Mm-hmm. And that's both in the classroom, outside the classroom, you know, co-curricularly, and much of that will be limited at the graduate level by your life circumstances, you know, and where you're entering into a program. And do you have a family? Do you have other obligations? Are you working? You know, all of those kinds of things. But trying to figure out what's the most I can get out of this experience, and to take full advantage of it. And that's the faculty relationship. That's the group relationship. You learn so much in a graduate program from your peers in the classroom. And if you just do group work by saying, you do that section, you do that section, you do that section, we'll meet a half an hour before class and we'll hope that they merge in a coherent way. Right. But if you spend more time to really be like, well, why are you thinking that? And you're thinking it completely differently, but you're coming to the same conclusion. So how did we get, you know, that's, right. You know, but your experience is in accounting and yours is in, you know, finance, and, you know, those are the great opportunities that come with graduate school. You know, and I also think I would specific to Bentley, our ability to offer the international experiences in the embedded courses, and those opportunities. If your life circumstance can give you that opportunity where you can leave your family or get off from work or take advantage of those experiences and fully invest in them. That's huge. Right. I think from my educational experience, that is something I really screwed up on, you know, or like didn't afford me the ability, the resources to go abroad. I mean, I did get to go abroad a couple times as an undergrad, but I wish I studied abroad as opposed to doing a study week-long tour. But you know, I think those advantages. I wish, knowing what I know now, I would have looked at a graduate program that had more international opportunities than the one that I went to. You know, I just going to London, and you know, I was sitting between their equivalent of a president of a medical school and the president of a school that's very similar to UMass Boston, an urban London institution. I'm like, I just learned more in this 2-hour dinner than, you know, I've learned in a long time about international education, politics, presidential perspective on education. You know, I mean, it was just a fascinating experience. I'm like, you just don't get that sitting in your office, right. You know. So that would be my advice.
Well, all right.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah. That was pretty easy.
Yeah.